Hello, everyone, and welcome to Performance Anxiety's 16th online reading event. My name is Tom Snarsky, and I'm so excited to be sharing this space tonight with you, our listeners, and with our fantastically talented readers. Normally, we open each Performance Anxiety reading with a long list of logistics and other details regarding the series, but tonight's reading is going to be a little bit different. Before the air is cleared for the poetry we're about to hear, I would like to request that everyone listening please pause for a moment of silence to remember Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, Rayshard Brooks, Carl Dupree, Kayla Moore, and the countless Black lives lost way too soon at the hands of police and other racist forms of violence in this country. The list I just started is sadly far too long to enumerate fully here, but please hold the memories of these folks, full persons all, in your hearts for a moment right now. Thank you. That moment of silence was gestural, symbolic, and it cannot stand in for the real work we must do, especially as a white organized reading series. And tonight's reading is not just dedicated to symbolism. We're here tonight for two very concrete, very urgent reasons: to amplify crucial Black voices in contemporary poetry and to call attention to extremely important on-the-ground work in some of the communities that have been most affected by police violence, the pandemic, and other manifestations of the racial inequities ingrained in American society. To this end, before we introduce our first reader this evening, we're asking each of our listeners tonight who can to make a donation to Mitch Gayns' Twin Cities Diaper Drive. And Mitch Gayns is at Mitch, MITCHGAYNS on Twitter. I'm lucky to know of Mitch's work via Kayla Scheitland, who's my coworker at Malden High School. She's at GCFactor, GCFACTOR on Twitter because she's a math teacher like me. And I cannot stress enough how much of an impact your donation would make on families in need of urgent supplies right now. To learn more about the Diaper Drive, which we'll share this information again later, you can visit mitchgaynes.com/TCDD, or you can click the link in our YouTube description to be brought directly to the Registry of Necessities, diapers, wipes, formula, and more that you can buy on behalf of the Drive to support Mitch and Kayla's work and help Minnesota families. So we're really excited to share this reading space with you for a really wonderful cause and to hear some amazing poets, the first of whom I'm very, very privileged to introduce right now, Taylor Byas. Taylor Byas is a Black poet and essayist from Chicago. She's currently a second-year PhD student at the University of Cincinnati studying poetry. She's one of many wonderful Ohio poets we're going to hear from tonight, even if temporarily an Ohioan. Her work appears in or is forthcoming in New Ohio Review, speak of, Hobart, Empty Mirror, Pigeonholes, Jellyfish Review, Frontier Poetry, and others. Taylor, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm super excited to hear your work. Please take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and excited to be here with everyone else. So I'm going to read 4 poems. The first one that I'm going to read is not out in the world yet, and the other 3 have just kind of recently come out into the world. But I've been doing Poem a Day in form this month, which has been kind of wild, but has also led me to some really, really fun and interesting poems. And so this first poem is a pantoum, and it's kind of about Spider-Man and how, the heroines in movies that I grew up with watching were kind of always white. So this is called I Don't Care If Mary Jane Gets Saved or Not. I can't lie. I tried to imagine myself in Spider-Man's grip, my damsel in distress scream strung through the city like Christmas lights. I really did. But my Black ass would never be in Spider-Man's grip. My damsel in distress don't look like Kirsten Dunst or Emma Stone. I looked. I really did. But my Black ass would never be dainty enough to be rescued by a white hero. The movie villains don't look like Kirsten Dunst or Emma Stone. I looked, but the women who terrorized me in real life are dainty enough to be rescued by a white hero. The movie villains always come for the white heroine and she will cry, but the women who terrorize me in real life are strategic, hammering out an axe with tears. The playbook goes, always come for the white heroine and she will cry wolf, cry danger, called the police. The 911 call, strategic, hammering out an axe with tears. The playbook goes, there is an African American woman threatening me. Cry, wolf, cry, danger, call the police. The 911 call, a masterclass on acting. Mary Jane would kill me if it was in the script. There is an African American woman threatening me, cry until Spider-Man dropped from the sky. The way I play dead, a masterclass on acting. Mary Jane would kill me if it was in the script, because what else could I be but the villain until Spider-Man dropped from the sky? The way I play dead in the cocoon of Spider-Man's web, you can tell I've practiced, because what else could I be but the villain? I can't lie. I tried to imagine myself. So the next poem has just recently come out in Flypaper Lit. This is the last poem actually in my finalized manuscript, so I'm really excited for this to be out in the world. So this one is called Rooftop Monologue. When I'm not thinking of dying, I like to play God. Look, from this angle, the world folds inward like a Monopoly game board. And those people below are more than just ants to crush in the pretend pinch of my index finger and thumb. See the top hat and thimble, the boats and silver dogs backsliding along the sidewalks? I wore my old Converse today. The soles unstitching from the canvas, the beginnings of lips around my toes. Enough flex in the soles to cuddle the roof's ledge the way the other woman might hold a man after a fight with his wife. I don't want to jump, only to be reminded of how thin the line between breathing and falling, how fragile a crossing. With the sun setting like that, it looks like you could hike uphill right into heaven. These skyscrapers, steps for the giant. And the sky like hand-pulled cotton candy, sifting into ropes of rose and gold, stretching and restretching itself into mouthfuls. Listen, I told you I don't want to jump, but what of you? Watch, the sky is hemorrhaging twilight, makes me want to scatter myself on the sidewalk tonight. Okay. This next poem is a breakup poem, but breakup poems are difficult for me, so I had to figure out a way to get into this poem, and obviously food came to mind. So this poem came out in Tramset, and it is called When in the Wendy's Drive-Thru, They Ask Me What Sauce, and I Say. When in the Wendy's drive-thru, they ask me what sauce, and I say honey mustard and regret it because it was your favorite. Just last month or the month before, honey mustard tear-dropping into your beard as we ate on your leather couch, the sauce like a thick dusting of pollen over the bramble, and you, a first sign of spring. Then my thumb braving the sharper bristles to catch what begged for your white t-shirt. Your teeth caught my finger, nipped its pad before I could return it to my own tongue to taste you. Mine, you said, all mine, a part of me disappearing into your mouth. And what about the other time, when honey barbecue clung to your chin's steel wool until you covered my body with yours in my bed? You humming Kendrick Lamar into the bowl of my clavicle, how I was the swimming pool you wanted to dive in. You called it art afterwards, your beer's accidental stippling, sauce swirling across my upper breast, Van Gogh's Starry Night remixed. Your breath as smoky as a summer camp bonfire as you cleaned the plate of me, said, you've never tasted sweeter. Now I spill sauce unto myself in my apartment, shirtless. Honey mustard needles down my sternum gap, and there is no one to reclaim these grasslands, no one to stop me before I dab away the mess, to say I got it and let their dinner go cold. Okay, this is my last poem. Thank you again for having me. Thank you guys for being here. This poem was written in response to my kind of social media feeds getting really overwhelming as everything was kind of happening. This just came out in Frontier Poetry as part of their Types of Burns series that they've just started. And it's called My Twitter Feed Becomes Too Much. I come across pictures of two rubber bullets nestled in a palm. Their nose tips black and rounded like a reporter's foam-covered mic. The caption reads, "These maim, break skin, cause blindness." Another photo, a hollow caved into a woman's scalp, floating hands in blue gloves dabbing at the spill. An offhand comment in the replies, "Are you sure that rubber bullet caused that type of damage?" The question hollowed of genuine concern. The page refreshes. A Black man melts into a street curb from exhaustion, his skin blotched with sweat and red. Protesters' hands cover his body, and this is church. A baptism, cover me with the blood. And there are more. Hand-drawn threats, shoot the fuck back, police cars skinned of their lettering and paint from the bullet aim of Molotov cocktails and Budweiser bottles. Black Lives Matter, markered in thick letters below the hollow outline of the Black Power fist. A gas mask, eye hollows glinting with tears. The page refreshes. Undercover cops wearing matching armbands like a gang. A Black Army tank crawling through city streets the way a hand may tiptoe up a thigh. The page refreshes. A bullet list of places to donate if I can't put my skin in the game, protesting in the streets. The snakeskin pattern of fires from a bird-eyes view of DC, hollowed Target storefronts. The page refreshes. Rubber bullets pinging a reporter and her crew as they run for cover. A white woman's reply, "Things are getting out of hand," punctuated with heart emojis. Protesters' shadows blacking the fiery backdrop of the riots, badge numbers blacked over with tape. The page refreshes. A man skinned by the asphalt when pulled from his car with both hands up. A police car plowing into a peaceful crowd. The hollow promises from white friends to do better. A cover-up for how quickly they will bullet into our inboxes and ask us to hand them the answers. Black rubber bullets. The page refreshes. A woman's forehead skin split. Page refreshes. A bloody hollow. Refresh. Take. Cover. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Taylor, for those poems and for, I'm sure, affecting the way we will all see Honey Mustard for Here Ever After. Again, that was Taylor Byas, who you can find on Twitter at TAYLORBYAS3. Keep an eye out again for all the amazing forthcoming work she's got in some amazing venues. And also, Taylor would like to take a quick moment to direct your attention not only to the diaper drive that we're raising money for tonight, but also for the Small Business Aid Fund for Chicago, from where she hails, formyblock.org. Check it out. Consider making a donation. And thank you so much again, Taylor, for being with us. That was awesome. I'm really excited to keep the, Ohio running with our next reader, our second reader of the evening, Venus Davis. And Venus Davis is a 21-year-old non-binary poet from Cleveland, Ohio. They are the editor-in-chief of Periwinkle Literary Magazine and the author of 3 wonderful micro chapbooks that you can find on Gumroad. Venus, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm really excited to hear your poetry.
Thanks for having me. I'm really nervous. This is my first reading in like 3 years. So I do want to give a trigger warning before I read my poems because a few of them deal with sexual assault. I'll say the trigger warning again when those poems come up, but I just want to put that out there so that no one is uncomfortable. My first poem is called Woke, and it is forthcoming in Stentorian Bitch Literary Magazine next month. Woke. Chiefly U.S. slang, aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice. People with skin like printer paper will try to hide behind the facade of being woke on the internet, from their Abolish ICE display names on Twitter to their Black Lives Matter tweets, their retweets and likes and shares and digital blackface and AAVE wannabes, milliseconds of activism to cover up for a lifetime and current time of disregard for voices that come from folks raging with melanin who can never have the choice to turn off their activism because they were born into skin that will always be seen as radical. You can hate cops all you want, and you can type from barely calloused fingertips that you hate injustice, but you will never know injustice through your gated community house's windows. You will never be sent home for the way your afro puffs. You will never be labeled as aggressive for existing. When will you learn that buzzwords don't make up for terror? You are not woke because you don't actively hate minorities. You are woke because you use your voice and stand up for them, and you keep that energy. My next poem is called My Body Is Not Company Property, and it's also forthcoming in Stentorian Bitch next month. My body is not company property, but you treat me like a nameless face, like I am land to own or inventory to count. These hands are meant to caress, to hold, to catch lightning bugs in the summer, to build sand castles, and to capture wonder by pen to paper. Yet they are calloused until they bleed. Nails are bitten short, and my heartbeat hammers in my ears from belittlement booming over the speakers of the vocal cords of someone who holds power over me because they value their place in this capitalist society for an extra $30,000 of livable wage. But because I won't give this company access to every single nerve ending and home in the vacancy of my smile, I am lazy and not working hard enough. But I won't let my body become alien to me just so more people can eat overpriced French fries. I won't stand for 8 hours without a second to rest just so you don't have to find ways to accommodate my loss for 30 minutes. I won't come in when you beg me just because you didn't bother to schedule anyone else. My body is a home, a tender palace of heart and veins and blood pumping at a normal rate, and organs existing happily without a care for a corporation. I will not bow to you because you pay me minimum wage. This next poem is called Pretty, and it's forthcoming in Pink Plastic House in January, I believe. Pretty. Every bone in the human body, all 270 or 206, are hidden under cement-like flesh. Every bone except your teeth. If you meet a person at 3, they will have all of their baby teeth. By age 6, they'll start to lose them. At 12, they'll have all of their adult teeth. And at 21, they'll wonder why they didn't bite or form the word help when they had the chance. They'll think about their teeth for minutes, hours, months, how their brain went numb for seconds while a cousin touched skin that is no longer there, ripping irreparable gaps in their memory, causing imaginary spiders to skitter up their spine at random, and being the first to make them feel like being a woman is about being violated. And teeth are meant to change, so, like a woman, they may sit still in her jaws and just look pretty. This next poem is called Sometimes I'm Just Like Him, and it's from my new manuscript that I'm working on. Sometimes I'm just like him. When I eat a pomegranate, I cut the red ball in half. I don't feel sorry about puncturing it right to the core. I don't feel sorry about puncturing it right to the core. Her seeds are for me to enjoy and her to forget. I eat what I see and then I crack the halves in half and find more. Some tart, some sweet, some tasteless. And then I crack some more and eat all in sight until she is nothing but bloody, barren craters. I feel powerful, like I have something to prove, like I am somehow winning in dominance by defeating her. When I eat a pomegranate, I cut its beating heart in half. I don't feel sorry about the corpse that lies before me. This next poem is called To My Enemy, the Sagittarius, and it's from my astrology manuscript. I also just realized I didn't trigger warning you guys for the last 2 poems, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to trigger warning you for this one. To my enemy, the Sagittarius. Think of me when you are fucking an artist, and she's painting your parasite as you tell her where to shade her trust. When her honeyed words pile up in stacks and your bed is now the couch at midnight. Think of me when you are fucking an artist, when your gears are shifting towards climax and she watercolors you the green light as you tell her where to shade her trust. Think back to my panic, my anxiety attack, when you kept caressing what didn't feel right. Think of me when you are fucking an artist and you coerce her hand to paint abstract, but she is too scared to say no outright as you tell her where to shade her trust. And you Oops, I'm so sorry, I got lost. And you coerce her hand to paint abstract, but she is too scared to say no outright as you tell her where to shade her trust. You can't untouch me, you can't take it back, like when you forced a kiss but I suppressed a bite. Think of me when you are fucking an artist, as you tell her where to shade her trust. This next poem is called Do You Still Think I Look Like Kimya Dawson? And it is from my manuscript, Blue. You said I looked just like her, and I can't tell if it's because we share the same shade of skin, or because of my curly hair, or just because I really do look like her reflection. I've typed her name into a search box millions of times just to see what you saw that day in my concrete-walled dorm room. Cluttered, but still empty, like me when I think of you now. The comment might have been racist. It might have been full of a kind of disgust that I could not piece together at 17, a hate that I still wonder about at 20. It might have been that you did not see the features that only stick to my skin and wander around in my hair, on my fingertips and on my toes, like the tiny brown seed freckles on my cheeks and my hooded eyelids, like my broad shoulders and murderous thick thighs, like my nearly flat feet or my charming chubby cheeks, like the risen scar from my stitches or the dark brown burns from cooking, like my chewed off nails and my 3 gorgeous tattoos, like me. After 10 months of holding your hand and kissing your lips and calling you baby and darling, you still told me that I looked like someone else. I still wonder if we had kept in touch, would you have ever seen me? And this is my last poem. It's called The Verb and the Noun. Everybody wants the peach to be pink and clean and pure. They pretend it didn't grow with caterpillars crawling in and out of it, calling it home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Venus. That was marvelous. That pomegranate poem is going to be with me for a really long time. And again, that was Venus Davis, whose work you can find on Twitter at VenusBeanus, VenusBeanus. And again, they have 3 really awesome micro chapbooks that you can find at gumroad.com/VenusBeanus. So thank you so much. Obviously, you killed it. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank
It was
you.
great. I feel almost, like I'm cheating to interrupt this Ohio rhythm that we've got going on, but I'm really excited to introduce, we're going into the latter half of our live reading lineup for tonight with a person who I've admired from afar as both a poet and an editor for a long time. So it's really exciting to have Christine Taylor with us tonight, and Christine Taylor resides in her hometown, which is Plainfield, New Jersey. She's the editor-in-chief of Kissing Dynamite, a journal of poetry, and the author of The Queen City from Broken Sleep Books in 2019, Petal from Bone and Ink Press in 2020, Claw, a collection of Haibun from Ghost City Press in 2020, and Buffer Zone, snapshots from an abortion clinic escort, coming out from, I think, Vegetarian Alcoholic Press later in 2020. Right now, she's probably covered in cat hair, hard same, and drinking a martini. You can visit her at www.christinetayloronline.com. Thank you so much, Christine, for being here. I'm so excited to hear your work, and again, I've been an admirer for a long time, so it's so cool that you're here with us tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate, the invitation and having the chance to, just kind of see everybody, kind of in person, So yeah, thank you. Thank you again. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to do 4 poems tonight also. I'm going to start off with a couple from Buffer Zone. I'm really excited that Vegetarian Alcoholic Press pulled that manuscript. When I wrote it, I had been one of the team leaders in the escorting group, and since that time have become one of the co-leaders in the group, and it's a cause that's really important to me. So I'm really excited about that manuscript. Later I'll read then a poem from Petal, and then one that I feel like just kind of closes everything out metaphorically quite nicely. So a couple of pieces from Buffer Zone. The first one is titled Homage to My Middle-Aged Black Body. Because most of the time I hate this body. Stiff hip flexors, cracking knees, sore cystic breasts, rolls and stretch marks that appear in mirrored angles. I marvel when on the sidewalk escorting at the women's clinic, I swell by how completely I love this body, the brownness of it, its animal-like awareness, its speed getting to patience, the thickness of its thighs, the hip switch in perfect bootcut jeans, the full ass that pushes antis out of the way, the magic that creates me giant, a force. Despite all its failings, that this body can be a shield, deflecting, come to Lord Jesus Christ and be saved, walk in the newness of life, off my back, mighty like myth, legs spread, arms triangling out to my fellow escorts. The daisy chain we create to bloom safety on the sidewalk raptures me. I hug my jacket more snugly around my core, tuck the loose ends of my t-shirt into my jeans to keep warm. Later, when I'm small again, scraping anxious fingernails across wrinkled skin on my hands, I'll try to recapture this feeling of magnanimity, claw at the height of this other self, and wonder at the price I've paid for it. And the next piece that I'll do from Buffer Zone is actually the last poem in the collection. It's ironic, it's the last poem in the collection, but it's actually the first one that I actually wrote, for the collection. It's titled To My Fellow Clinic Escorts, Englewood, New Jersey. May you arrive at the clinic promptly at 7:30 a.m. The first patients come early for their 8 o'clock appointments, even in rain and snow. May you don a neon vest, reflective panels glittering in the rising sun, wear this death escort badge with honor and pride. May you stop traffic that tears up the one-way downtown drag and usher her safely to the curb. May you hold her hand and open the door. May you lift your head towards the open sky when a protester wails on his amplifier, I feel sorry for my brother who has to bear the burden of being an innocent white man after a pedestrian has called the cops. Again, your laughter will quake the heavens. May you pop that Advil you've stashed in your jeans pocket, and no, it doesn't matter that you've already downed 3 cups of bitter black coffee. Please get out of the buffer zone. May you swallow the memories of your own past assault, body check the bastard who's trying to slip a patient a pamphlet of false promises, will care for you and your baby. Watch out for the pothole in the sidewalk that catches garbage water when they dump the bins. May you just listen to the story she tells, the struggle to feed other children when dad's been laid off, the first-generation college degree in arm's reach, the tumor that has claimed 70% of the fetus. Each story becomes your own. May you fall to your knees when you hear that God has called women to be submissive to their godly leaders, and praise the mother goddess as we bear witness to the choice to honor life, the heart of these journeys. Down the street, sirens. And the next piece that I'm going to share today is a Zoihitsu. Zoihitsu was probably one of the first forms of poetry that I really clung to a few years ago doing a workshop at Kenyon College. And this one will be in the collection that I have coming later this year in Petal. And this one is titled, Why You Shouldn't Declaw Your Cat. It hurts. Rationale. From Merriam-Webster. Noun. Rationale. An explanation of controlling principles of opinion, belief, practice, or phenomena. An underlying reason. Basis. Lotus feet were once considered beautiful, sexually alluring. Broken bones bound in silk, the pus, the reek. Neat pedicure, painted satin slipper, paw prints across snow. An article in the New Yorker, Are Cats Domesticated? By Farish Jaber suggests that cats are only semi-domesticated, or in other words, semi-feral. They are an opportunistic creature, that evolved to take advantage of civilization. And aren't they charming? A docile carnivore balanced on the border of human, home, alone, and content, yet with all its senses tuned to the world beyond. After that meeting, I bit my fingernails sharp, scratched a missive into my tattooed forearm, took afternoon tea. When I volunteered at the local branch of the ASPCA, a couple brought back the cat they had adopted because it jumped on their things, dressers, shelves, countertops. Cats will jump on your things, on all your things. Declawing involves the amputation of the last bone of each toe. A guillotine clipper, bandages, blood. Complications include lameness, infection, and tissue necrosis. Trace DNA is often found under fingernails. Stop your cat from scratching the wrong things. According to the Humane Society of the United States, keep their claws trimmed, provide stable scratching posts, ask your veterinarian about soft plastic cups. Attach a special double-sided tape to furniture. These are the wrong things. The pretty man who approached you in the bar that night in his smoothly pressed suit. The police officer in his navy uniform. Your husband. Cats use their claws for hunting and climbing, and for protection. Cats climb trees and sometimes get stuck. My first cat, Neo, once got stuck in a tree. Sue and I rigged the shittiest ladder to get her down. Her body stiff and then shaking, yellow eyes peering back at mine. On the ground, I just held her, and she let me. I scaled a fence once. I'm sure I'll be climbing trees soon. A cat will scratch your eyes out. Some stories, like Carver's Cathedral and Oedipus the King, suggest that the blind see better than the sighted. CBS News reports the death of a man from cat scratch fever. The CDC now warns people to beware of Bartonella Hensley. I wonder what the guy did to the cat. There is a scar on my left hand where the tattoo doesn't cover, a thin raised welt. My cat, Asher, the most elusive one, got carried away doing bunny feet one afternoon. That's how they play. The blood was easy to clean. Cats can or will not be trained. It still hurts. And the last poem that I'm going to do tonight is one that's has not made its way into a collection or anything. It appeared in Lost Balloon earlier in the winter in February, and the title kind of bleeds into the poem, so I'll just go ahead into the whole thing. When someone cuts the tulips from my front yard in the middle of the night, I wonder if they think the world already has too many flowers. 5 tulip stems, the heads severed clean by an apparently sharp blade, are left to quiver in the breeze. These 5 tulips burst from the ground outside the stone-walled flower bed, bulbs gone astray after decades of confinement. I planted those flowers when I was 6 years old, removed the bulbs from the mesh net bag my father handed to me as gingerly as a 6-year-old can. While I watched, holding a small spade, my mother dug the first hole and planted the first bulb. Her thin fingers patted the dirt firm. Then I dug and planted, and dug and planted. After bearing the heavy winter, those bulbs pushed into spring red, glorious. Decades later, I've moved on to dahlias, Dusty Miller, marigolds, yet the tulips persist. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. That was beautiful, and it was really cool. I think I heard your cats in the back, like, doing cat snaps via
Oh my
meow
God,
or
you
something.
didn't do them? They're so annoying. I tried to block them out of here, but sorry.
Oh no, please. They are very important listeners too. Again, I think that's, if only mine were here to also cat snap. But that was Christine Taylor wowing us amazingly. Thank you so much for being on here. And please, everybody who's listening, you can find following Christine's work on Twitter at CE Taylor, Taylor PLFD. And you can find her work online as well, both in the magazine she edits with Kissing Dynamite, or editorial work, and then her books at ChristineTaylorOnline.com. And definitely pick up from a really great press and vegetarian alcoholic press, Snapshots from an Abortion Clinic Escort, when it comes out very soon. So yeah, it's always kind of bittersweet to get towards the end of at least our live lineup for tonight. I'm really excited to introduce our last live reader before we get into some really amazing artists who have shared recordings with us, and that would be Madison Kalia. Madison Kalia is a practicing alchemist with lots of tenacity and overwhelming emotions. She's the editor for Crep and Pen on Twitter at CREPE and Pen, PENN, and has work published and forthcoming with Parentheses Journal, Delta Arts Literary Journal, Burning House Press, Honey and Lime, and others. So Madison, thank you so much for being our last live reader of the evening. Take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. I have 3 poems. This first one is titled Standing Weak. I wrote it 2 years ago, and it's finally getting housed in Pink Plastic House. So here's that. I am a house, rooms unvisited, many lived in, and the beds are unmade. I have no charms. Blankets of dust warm the floor coolly, and the faucets drip. I fit the design they gave me, but I am all wrong. Houses cannot die. They only burn and leave the frame standing, but burn all of me. My next poem is titled, I Have No One to Think of Except Myself. I have no one to think of except myself because I am the only one who can love me at night. I am the only one that can wrap the blanket about my shoulders with the perfect tension for warmth and for simulating real touch. And when I am tired of hearing my own voice, I can tell myself to stop talking and I am not offended. My body is softest under my own fingertips. My water makes the burnt flesh sting less, makes it life again. I close the blinds to go inside myself. It is easiest in the dark. I am not the question. I am not the answer. I am not the space between the words, the space between bodies, the space between time and what the herders call healing. I am not space. I take up space. I don't have to be anything except what I am. I don't have to be anything for anyone because no one has been anything to me. Being is not meaning. You mean things to me. You are not things. I would never make you into some thing because I would never want to be that. A reason to sleep, to drink, to smoke, to call your mother and tell her everything you've been afraid to. I've been thinking more of myself since asking him what he felt for me. What do I think of me? I am the type of woman that I would love myself sick over. So I grab the blanket. I wrap it around myself and I stay awake. I live this time. My last poem is titled 9 Things I Think About When I Stare at the Back of My Hands. 1. It is your brother's 15th birthday. You are on your way home to make a cake. The music in the car is up too high. Your energy is so high, and that's what the man next to you says. He says hi. Well, he says hey. The man in the tiny red sports car says hey, and you ignore him. You remember the story about someone getting shot in the face at a red light. The man says hey again, but this time it is hey nigger. Green light. 2. I am tired of being asked, why do you make everything about race? Maybe I should counter with, why don't you? And it's not just white people, black people too, as if it isn't obvious, as if my skin doesn't raise questions, as if I have never had reason to question myself. 3. I have never gained anything from whiteness. I have never gained anything from blackness either because black privilege does not exist. And some of you need to hear that, but my blackness is what I have to live in. And not because living in blackness is easy, but because their Second Amendment says so. Because when the guns come out, my whiteness hides inside itself. 4. Living in blackness is not easy. 5. I fear for my brother's lives every day. And if my ceasing heart could save them from someone else's Second Amendment, well, then I'd give it up. But the truth is, 6. I shouldn't have to. No one should ever have to. 7. You don't tell your brother what happened. You are afraid that telling him is opening the door and pushing him into it, like not telling him will save him. You will tell him, but not today, not his birthday. Today you celebrate his life, not what could happen to it, but every day for the next year, you will remember, carry it with you. And when you see a tiny red sports car, you will think of your brother and remember to live while you can. 8. I feel disgusted at the thought of having to explain myself to a world of people that should understand by now. But I'll keep explaining, and I'll never know peace in this controversial body because this is the poem that was expected of me. This is the poem that I was supposed to write because this is what I do, right? 9. That's it. Thank you so much again for having me. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much, Madison, for bringing it home with an incredible series of poems. And I think I speak for everybody when I say we want to hear more of this in the future, and we want to see all this work that you've got forthcoming in all these beautiful places. And if you want to keep track of Madison's work, you can do that on Twitter at Madison Kalia, MadisonKalia, and you can find her site at madisonkalia.wixsite.com. It's really just been an immense privilege for me to get to hear the amazing poems that our live readers have shared with us tonight. So in the spirit of the name Performance Anxiety, sometimes our readers don't share their work with us live because of time constraints or preferring to share their work in another way. So I'm really excited tonight to get to share with you one recording by the poet R.D. or Reggie Johnson. Reggie Johnson is an author reigning out of Cincinnati, Ohio, again in keeping with our Ohio theme. At the age of 9, he found a love for writing while on summer vacation. With influences from music, Reggie has created a rhythmic style of writing to tell his personal experiences and beyond. Reggie's latest book, Audio Therapy, along with others, can be found on all major online retailers. And this is a poem by Reggie that has also been published by Kristen, the co-organizer of Performance Anxiety, and her Pink Plastic House imprint.
A nation under God, where a checker flag turned into a chessboard, where many kings think they rule the land and they want to stick out their chests. A race left divided, and for years they think we were fools. Had us for years thinking we've progressed, no matter who in charge rules. We live in the land of red, white, and blue, yet that flag bleeds after every senseless death. And there's people out there that will be happy if there wasn't any of us bad ones left. Little do they know we are kings too, of all different suits. There's those that call a spade a spade. These upside-down, black-hearted souls are done with the endless pain we've experienced. There's those that are a diamond in a rough, endured so much that they will ensure a change will come. Those that have heart will make a change, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. We must avenge our clubbed kings. We must bring about a revolution of thinking, a revolution of being. We cannot do it without the help of our queens either. Just know we've been fighting with the hands we've been dealt since the beginning of time. The outdated way of thinking will have to fold eventually, and we'll be there to make sure of it. Queens, this here life is like a game of chess. Many may see you as weak, but you are strong beyond measure. We need you. That sense of nurturing and compassion is a necessity. Stand by the kings. You both are summoned to the battlefields and have endured many quarrels. But the war is not over. The ones that watch over the spaded brethren, guide them with wisdom, as they are mad and are doomed to be reckless. Keep applying the pressure to those diamond in the roughs. Nurture them. They are scared of their potential, but you're key to helping them tap into it. Queen, also have the heart to stand by the ones that are fighting the good fight. Your presence is all some need in order to keep on. We must avenge the fallen and ensure that no one club did not lose the battle in vain. We need you. There are some pawns that are waiting to become the next queen, but a true one knows herself and does not need to be told otherwise. Young royalty, watch the throne. If Kanye and Jay-Z taught you anything, they asked for you to keep going. Knave, there will be different things you experience in life that you won't be able to explain, defend, or rebuke. We all have. Just look at history. In this age, you live in a time where so much power can be held in 140 characters, in a video, in a recording, in a march, in a hashtag. They may think that you're too young to make a change, and that we're just a culture deemed to create entertainment, like the new era of New Jack Swing. Our lives are not a movie. This is not a plot of the remake of New Jack City. So let's keep them from thinking you don't know jack shit. And when the cards are right, know how to use them. Don't lose yourself. There's been a lot of Gotham nights, and darkness looms as it's been lurking in the shadows for centuries. It's mentally disturbing. Before recently, some people have become so desensitized to the fact that we almost have to laugh it off, that people are too ingrained in the history of yesterday, that any means of progress is seen as a threat. There are literally people out there in this world that literally want us to sit here, mentally chained down, while they have a grin on their face. They want us to go home, paint a face on of happiness with a red nose and colored hair, and let us clown ourselves into thinking our life is less than. You want us to become jokers engulfed in rage and want us to terrorize, just so you can send in people you beckon with your bat signal, as if the so-called good in you will eradicate the evil. That's when we remember this. Don't let them win. They see us as a wild card, and let's make a positive change in this history. We can do this as kings. We can do this as queens. We are royalty. These moments are just adding jewels to our crown. Let us continue to fight to be liberated of physical, emotional, mental torment. This is not a laughing matter. We are royalty.
That again was Reggie Johnson, who you can find on Twitter at R_D_Johnson. And that series of poems has been published by, again, Kristen Garth, our co-organizer at Pink Plastic House. So our last reader of the evening, which again, it gives me great sadness to get to the end, but I'm really deeply excited to share this recording with you. It's an amazing piece of work. This recording is by Kevin Latimer, and Kevin Latimer is a poet from Cleveland, Ohio. Recent poems can be found in Jubilat, Storm Cellar, Poetry Northwest, and others. I just need to say it now because it blew my mind. Just listen to it.
Hi, My name is Kevin Latimer, and thank you to Performance Anxiety, thank you to Tom and Kristen and the great readers tonight. I am so excited to be here. I usually don't get to read. I am usually the person that's putting on the readings, so it's really cool to be in this sort of space. I have a book coming out called Zoetrope, which is a book of poems about the architecture of space and what it means to be black and grieving in America. So I'm going to read some poems from that. And while I do that, I am going to try and do something, which is not reading any poems from paper and just using my memory, which will be weird, maybe. We'll see. I think I'm going to read 2, maybe 3 poems. So that's all the poems I remember. So, my friend Noor Hindi posted earlier today that she needed some poems. So I'm kind of hoping that she will see this and know that I am giving her some poems. So this first poem is called Joy Part 2, which was made after Noor Hindi. Joy Part 2, with the lyrics from the song Swell Content and Good Neck by Speedy Ortiz. Put one down and another will come. Spying from the knoll, us spectators of grief should have shot while we could from the balcony. Above us, ascendant bodies with limbs on shoestring float across the skyline. I have a good neck, a great one. I can bend it back real far. We're in the forest now, and my friend won't stop chasing rainbows. There's a rainbow in this forest, he says. And we go searching for the rainbow, and we find it in the lake, and everyone, everywhere, is laughing. Kids in puddles jumping out of the rainbow like fireworks. A new first breath. We turn old funerals into new births. Hey, can I have your tears? I'd like to cook with them. I'll make something useful from what we once were. Once there was a time I thought I'd take a train across the country and never see my friends again. The future is so old and so weird. Adulthood, and this is very true, adulthood is continuously missing all of your friends until you all die. I never miss. I can bat 400 at the plate. I can do it all. We're at my funeral now, and I must say I have several regrets. Levity is best at death, or levitation. Flying using your mind is very cool, and now I'm flying away. If you need me, you can find me here, surfing on top of this train, catching waves, star fizzle clenched between my night-gap teeth. This poem is called Something About the Pink Sky, and it was originally published in Jubilat, which is my favorite literary journal of all time. So if you're a poet and you need some place to send your work, I would recommend them. This poem is about discovering the self as temptation. Something about the pink sky. I am jotting down my sins on pink paper cranes. I write them in pen. Shameful things. I loved a man once. My mother says, there is something wrong with a boy who won't finish his dinner before his dessert. I always give in to temptation. The chocolates in the pantry, this poem, me. I am alive or I am dead, depending on my closeness to the sun. Too close, and I bubble up, my skin bursting at the nerve seams. And it is here that I see the true meaning of salvation. Millions of us walking in the desert, cranes cupped in our hands, and then at once we open them. In the sky, something pink and orange and paper. These last two poems are from a series of poems I've been working on called Originally a Space Opera. And me and a good friend of mine, Jason Harris, have been talking about the idea of an upturned utopia. So these poems sort of signify that in sort of repetition. Originally a space opera. In space, black boys fly, drive cars, spaceships. They dream of meteors, free of harm from the elements, these things, those bullets. I've seen the underside of Mars, that place where Tamir sleeps and dreams wondrous things. He drives an asteroid, a comet. In space, it is common for black boys to do this. He buys his mother Neptune, his father Venus. Space is the place for a black boy's genius. In space, that boy dreams of no tragedies, no prophets, no bloodstains. Suddenly, his mother screams. Those shots, 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 those shots. 137 ring out from the atmosphere, and his body like a black hole, the black boy riddled with bullets in the back of that black hoodie. It's your fault, the media says. That boy shouldn't have been out there being black. He knew better, says Neptune. In space, black boys don't drive cars. No more dreams. Black boy, don't fly. That ain't for you. Alright, that's it for me. Once again, thank you, Performance Anxiety. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Kristen. Thank all of you who are reading here with me today in this weird sort of virtual space. If you like what you heard and you want to buy my book, you can do so at grieveland.com, which is like Cleveland, where I live, but grieve, like grieving, crying. Anyway, I'm going to go now. Goodbye.
Wow. So entirely from memory, again, that was Kevin Latimer, who you can find on Twitter at LikelyKevin, LIKELYKEVIN, and I hope beyond hope that you will pre-order Kevin's book Zoetrope, which is coming out very soon from Grieveland. Grieveland is at GRIEVE_LAND on Twitter. That's Kevin Latimer and Brendan Joyce's really amazing publishing project, and you can pre-order that book Zoetrope and the rest of Grieveland's work that they'll put out right now at grieveland.com. Thank you so much to all of our readers for sharing their incredible work with us this evening. Thank you, too, to our listeners for giving this hour of your lives over to poetry, and also for taking the time to learn more about Mitch Gayns' Twin Cities Diaper Drive, which, again, you can find more information about by going to mitchgayns.com/TCDD. So that's mitchgayn's.com/TCDD. Or you can click the link in our YouTube description to make a gift in goods via their registry that they've set up on Amazon. In a time of tremendous uncertainty and hardship for many, it's always the spirit of community that gives me hope. And nothing says that more eloquently than the poets whose work we've heard tonight, and the amazing power of direct action that you could contribute to with your donation to Mitch's Drive and the other initiatives that, for example, Taylor brought up as well. On this night, the eve of Juneteenth, I'd like to close with a poem that I've had up on my classroom wall since I became a teacher. It's one I try to read with my students every year, and although I didn't get to do it with them in person this year, it's by the inimitable Nikki Giovanni. Its title is A Journey, and thank you so much again for joining us. This is how we'll close. A journey. It's a journey that I propose. I am not the guide, nor technical assistant. I will be your fellow passenger. Though the rail has been ridden, winter clouds cover autumn's exuberant quilt, we must provide our own guideposts. I have heard from previous visitors, the road washes out sometimes, and passengers are compelled to continue groping or turn back. I am not afraid. I am not afraid of rough spots or lonely times. I don't fear the success of this endeavor. I am Ra, in a space not to be discovered, but invented. I promise you nothing. I accept your promise. Of the same, we are simply riding a wave that may carry or crash. It's a journey, and I want to go.